Hi friends, today I want to answer the question as to why we cannot stop thinking about the other person after a breakup. It's interesting how we can become bombarded, overwhelmed, and literally it becomes our every thought is wondering what they're doing, how they are, or maybe even something that you could have said differently. And I find that many of us have done this not once, but over and over again throughout our life and relationships. And it's interesting because what happens when we do that and we focus on them and not on us is it keeps us in a codependent, or what I consider a codependent dependent state of mind, right? And so instead of looking at us or going introspectively or trying to understand our feelings or emotions and what happened in the relationship, we, what I consider, deflect. Right? So we deflect our focus, we deflect our energy, both mentally and emotionally, onto the other person. In the process of that deflection, what happens is that it reinforces us to have that people-pleasing sense of mind. It reinforces us that codependent programming, right? To worry about the other person, to really help with their needs or focus on their needs instead of ours, right? And it also is reinforced and based upon our family upbringing and our core wounds, right? Because many of us wanted somebody to raise us. We wanted somebody to be there for us. And we might have not had the most healthy of family dynamics. And so we found ourselves giving and giving and giving to try to get something back, right? And we did that because that's all we knew. And so we have a tendency of doing that in our romantic relationships, right? We carry that programming all the way through. And so the deflection is really deflecting all our energy back to them. But how do we do that? How do we offset this tendency? How do we stop deflecting our energy, both mentally and emotionally, on the other person and gain some sort of peace of mind? Because I think that's where a lot of people are right now. They just recently had a breakup. It's overwhelming. They're stressed out. They're already sad, upset, wishing things had gone differently. But instead of thinking about how we feel and how we can make changes, we're focusing on them. Okay, so the first thing that we can do right now, which is really positive and powerful, is that we can become more aware, right? We can become more aware and catch the deflection as soon as possible to when it began. Okay, so in order to catch the deflection, we have to be super mindful, at least to some degree, to be able to catch that we're deflecting into the other person, right? Because it's become so commonplace for us, we're so used to it, it might be hard to kind of break that cycle because we don't catch ourselves going down that road until we've already gone down it, thought about the other person, worried about what's happening, sad about them, thinking about picking up the phone or making a call, and really going down that rabbit hole. And so once we actually catch that as soon as possible, we want to gently, not forcefully, but gently bring our focus back to us. Okay? So let's say like you're deflecting into the other person, you finally catch it. I want you to say, okay, self, I really need to focus on myself. I really need to focus on what I need. I need to focus on my state of mind. I need to begin to focus on my feelings. I need to start gaining clarity. And the only way I can do that is to stop worrying about what they're doing. Right? Because I have no control over that. When I worry about what the other person's doing, I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not putting the energy where it's necessary. I'm creating narratives to what the other person is doing, which is not benefiting me one bit, right? Because it's not going to help me, because I don't really know what's going on over there, but I can actually begin to do the knowledge and the work to begin to feel how I feel and be able to excavate those feelings and emotions so I can start processing and get over this breakup sooner than later. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to write down on a piece of paper or in a journal all the unhealthy things that you can remember that took place in the relationship. All the unhealthy. I just want you to list it out. You don't need to write lots of paragraphs about this. I just want you to write each thing that you can think about, because we're trying to connect the brain with the heart. We're also working to stop romancing the relationship, because there comes a point where we begin to forget about what all happened and we romance the relationship, right? We romance the situation even though the relationship was probably pretty unhealthy. And we also want to use this list to be able to look over and go over to understand, so we have clarity as to why we're not in the relationship still. The third thing that I want you to do is I want you to look back to patterns from the past. past relationships and look at how there's some similarity in how you dealt with the breakup, okay? Because this is going to help us to understand that this relationship is not completely special. It's actually just based on how we've done things in the past. Because sometimes we have a tendency of when we're thinking about the other person and we're deflecting into them, when we start romancing the relationship, we begin to confuse the relationship with a healthy relationship or something that's beneficial to us. And we don't see that we've actually kind of gone down this programming multiple times, right? And so we're trying to look at it, take a step back and analyze as well. Not that we're trying to devalue this relationship, but we're just trying to see it for what it is. We're also trying to gain clarity to understand, have I walked down this programming before? Have I gone down the deflection process before? Have I romanced past relationships that were unhealthy before? Is there similar patterns here? Okay, so this is going to help us to get out of focusing on them 24/7 and begin to do some self-discovery. These 3 things that we're going to work on are so impactful. And the impact that they have is that it allows us to demonstrate to ourselves, okay, that we're going to work through this breakup cycle, that we're going to work through this programming, right? That we're also going to stop focusing on others and what they need and begin to focus on ourselves and ask ourselves what we need and how do we get to where we need to go, okay? Because that's something that many of us haven't done. That's something that we've struggled with. We've actually done quite the opposite, right? We've focused on what everybody else needs. We haven't really focused on our needs, and we haven't even seen that this is a repeating factor in our life. We haven't even given it enough time to look at that because we're too busy worried about not being in a relationship or worrying about them deflecting our needs. And so now this is going to really impact us in a way that we're going to be able to see it. And another thing that's very interesting is that it's going to impact how we see ourselves. The value that we have for ourselves, because when we're going through a breakup, we're already feeling down, we're already feeling low. So we're needing to build ourselves up. And in order to build ourselves up, we have to show ourselves that we value ourselves, right? And if I'm constantly deflecting my energy on somebody else, I'm telling myself subconsciously that I don't care enough about myself to focus on my needs. Okay, and so each time we take that deflection and gently bring our thought process and our mind share back to ourselves, we're showing with each and every time that we do that, that we are actually valuable. It goes a long way subconsciously for us to grow. It also allows ourselves more processing ability because as we show ourselves that we're actually interested in processing how we feel, we'll begin to open up better and see these patterns and actually begin to process our feelings in a not only a safe environment, but in a proactive environment where we can begin to understand what really happened and see some of the things that's happened in our past that are similar to this specific relationship. So the next time that you catch yourself going down the rabbit hole, wondering how they're doing, what they're doing, how they're feeling, I want you to realize that each and every time we do that, we're overlooking our needs and feelings, right? And you have feelings too. You have feelings too, and now you're in the position to be able to listen, accept, and process those feelings. Because I've also realized that many of us are in relationships or have been in relationships where our feelings really didn't matter. Okay, and so when we go down this process of deflection, we're also telling ourselves that our feelings don't matter. And so this is going to be very helpful. Not only is it going to help you to get your mind share back and some peace of mind, it's also going to put in perspective how often you're thinking about this person, gently refocusing your focus back into you. It's going to help you to really see the relationship for what it was, looking at those things that happened that were unhealthy. It doesn't have to be about judgment. It's just writing down the unhealthy aspects of the relationship so we don't romance it. And last but not least, it's really going to help us to examine and deconstruct some of our past patterns throughout our romantic history, which is going to help us even more because it's going to give us more solid information. And it's also going to make us realize that this relationship probably, yes, does it hurt to break up? Does it hurt to go through this? Yes, but there's a lot more to learn than worrying about what they're doing. We need to learn how we got in this relationship in the first place, what led us there, and the information that we need to not continue this type of cycle and pattern. If you've liked what you've heard in this video, please give us a like here. As well as if you know somebody that needs to hear this information, has recently gone through a breakup, please share it with them because this can help them to get some clarity and personal understanding. In the comment section below, let me know if you've been able to use any of these types of techniques to offset deflecting with your ex, and if there's any other techniques that you've used that you think would be helpful to our community here. Please put that in the comment section below. Also, don't forget, if you'd like to join the channel, you can join the channel, and there's some extra content that you'll get with that, and some really neat conversational deeper dives on some of the content that we talk about in these videos. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you've liked what you've listened to so far. We appreciate you doing that. And don't forget, as you know, I say this at the end of each video, don't forget to live your true life.